Coming up on Vegas Nation Blitz, the Raiders' chase for the playoffs ends before the new year. But the Raiders aren't packing it in just yet.
It's 2024, it's a new year. It's a great opportunity to go out with a bang at home. Get our fan base excited for what's going to come in the future.
The Silver and Black get ready to suit up one last time. Vegas Nation Blitz starts now.
Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal, this is Vegas Nation Blitz. Presented by D&R House of Diamonds, making luxury affordable. Located in the One Summerlin building in downtown Summerlin.
How's it going, everybody? Vegas Nation host Leandre Fox here, and Raider Nation was dealt one final misfortune before the new year as the Raiders ended 2023 losing 23-20 to the Colts in Indianapolis, eliminating them from the playoff hunt and all but ending the season. But as we've heard from Antonio Pierce since he took over the interim coaching job, the Raiders have a 24-hour rule, and they cannot dwell on the loss because they have one more opportunity to take the field as a team this season. And no better place to do it but at home as they finish out the season the same way it began, taking on the Denver Broncos. But quite a few things have changed since September, haven't they? So to begin 2024, let's take a quick look back at the Raiders season to this point. As we mentioned, the Raiders kicked off the season against the Broncos, winning 17-16 in Week 1. The good times would not last long after the win, with 3 straight losses. Aiden O'Connell making his first NFL start against the Chargers in one of those losses as Jimmy Garoppolo was sidelined with a concussion. After losses to the Bears and Lions, Mark Davis makes his move. Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler fired. Antonio Pierce and Champ Kelly take over. Jimmy Garoppolo benched, and Aiden O'Connell takes over as the starter. Pierce makes his coaching debut against the team he played for as the Raiders beat the New York Giants 30-6. They would start hot with 2 wins, but they would go on a 3-game losing streak, including a 3-0 shutout loss against the Vikings at home. 4 days later, the Raiders would crush the Chargers, putting up a franchise scoring record in a 63-21 win. A Christmas Day upset of the Chiefs had the Raiders in prime position to potentially make a move into the playoff race. But they did not control their own destiny, which brings us to present day, as ultimately it was not meant to be. The Raiders eliminated by the Colts. Now let's go ahead and bring in Review-Journal sports columnist Sam Gordon. Sam, it's over. After weeks of this team hanging on by a thread, there was a legit shot for them to not only make the playoffs, but they could have won the AFC West, believe it or not. But it's not happening. Now, Davante Adams said on Sunday that the story of their season has been about the Raiders beating themselves. So I want to ask you, do you agree with Davante Adams, or do you think that there's another underlying issue?
Well, Dre, I think Sunday the Raiders certainly beat themselves, right? The 7 penalties, very uncharacteristic. But this isn't a team under Antonio Pierce that's been beating itself. In fact, the Raiders had committed the fewest penalties in the NFL since Antonio Pierce took over. So this wasn't the sloppy, undisciplined teams of the past. This was just a bad offensive football team, right? 14.6 points per game this year if you take out the 63-point explosion that this team has averaged offensively. It's not good enough. The quarterback play wasn't good enough. The coaching on that side of the ball wasn't good enough. It was an offensive issue, and that's why the Raiders are in the position they're in.
There's a lot of things that this team needs to address. So I want to talk to you about the general manager position, the head coaching position, and the quarterback spot. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Of those 3 positions highlighted, where do you think the Raiders should be addressing most strongly? Who do you think that they should be retaining?
That's a great question, Dre. Obviously, right, Antonio Pierce, the win over Kansas City, the defensive improvement, the cleaner football. I'm not saying this to discount his candidacy, but Champ Kelly, I think, is the guy at the general manager spot, right? You take a look at the moves he's made, not too sexy, nothing crazy, but Jack Jones, how about that, right? Bringing him in, pairing him with Antonio Pierce, his former high school coach, his former college coach. That's paid dividends for the Raiders. He's managed this roster well in the time that he's been the interim general manager. And, of course, an esteemed general manager candidate in his own right before he paired with Dave Ziegler. He was doing his thing with the Chicago Bears, respected around the NFL. And if the Raiders do make a change at quarterback and do make a change at head coach, and it's not Antonio Pierce, Champ Kelly's the guy that you could have to maintain some of the continuity that they've built the last several weeks of the season.
All right, last one for you here, Sam. One shocking move that you think the Raiders should make this offseason, what is it?
Well, I know he's coming off one of his best games of the season, Dre, but I think the Raiders should move Davante Adams. And my reasoning behind that is The goal is to win a Super Bowl. And in order to do that, you got to be, looks like Baltimore, San Francisco, right? The Raiders aren't anywhere close to those teams. Regardless of how well their defense played, the offense is so far away from this team being a legitimate contender that I don't think it's going to happen while Davante Adams is still in his prime. He's 31. He'll be 32 by next playoffs. Still a dominant player, as we saw on Sunday. Can still be dominant when he's featured and when he has quarterback play befitting of his skill set. But he hasn't had that this year, and there's still value. The Raiders need to build this thing out. They're a couple years away from being a contender. If you can get a second-round pick for Davante Adams, I think you go ahead and make that move and retool. And the next iteration of this offense is what this team needs to build.
DNR House of Diamonds is Las Vegas's elite private office jeweler, the perfect bridge between internet pricing and a traditional brick-and-mortar jewelry store. We specialize in loose diamonds, natural and lab-grown, engagement rings, fashion jewelry, custom design, and jewelry repairs. We operate by appointment in our beautiful offices in the One Summerlin building, downtown Summerlin. Our great relationships with the world's largest diamond wholesalers and our low overhead saves you hundreds, if not thousands, on your purchase.
Everything's going to come to the end, and hopefully you like to be in that game in the Super Bowl, right? In Vegas. That's not going to happen this year for us. But what we do going forward is very important, and that's not just for the Raiders, it's for us individually as well. You know, your resume is each and every week. You get paid to play 17 games in an 18-week season, and that's what we'll do. Let's have fun doing it. Let's embrace and love one another, dap each other up these last couple of days, and go out there and put a show on Sunday.
I think for us, it's easy because it's, one last game. We get to truly empty the tank. Last time this team will be together, and so we get to leave everything. We want to, make this our stamp the last time we play together.
We owe it to them. They come and spend their hard-earned money to come and watch us, but, that's the plan every week is to go out there and put on a show for them. We never intend to go out there and, not light up the scoreboard or whatever it is on each side of the ball. So we obviously have a little bit more initiative. It's the last one, and we know it's the last one, which is not, the way you want to end your regular season ever. But, like I said, it is what it is. That's where we are right now. So we just got to put as good of a product out there on film as we can and figure out the rest after. I
think they're excited. I'm excited. They should be excited by watching our team play because they haven't quit. Each and every quarter, each and every game, they've given it their best and their all. So, no, it's not a disappointment. We'll see you again. And we'll see them on Sunday, and they'll be loud, and we'll hopefully put on a show, and they'll be cheering, and that bad boy will be rocking and rolling again because that's what we want Allegiant Stadium to be like.
Welcome back to Vegas Nation Blitz. One of the things fans don't get to see is the bonding that goes on within a team's locker room. And for the Raiders, they've ultimately found themselves bonding in a melee, large brawls occurring every single day after practice. It gets a little hectic as they pick up the sticks for a game of Super Smash Bros.
3, 2, 1, go!
Smash, it means a lot to us, obviously. Get to talk trash. And then it's just like a good downtime in between meetings, stuff like that, just to disconnect a little bit from football and just being here feeling like kids again.
Bragging rights, people get into it. I mean, you can look over here right now, locked in. We're really practicing right now in between meetings. It's highly competitive.
Josh Jacobs, Colton, Brandon Parker, pretty good. There's some.
Brandon's good.
We got some new additions.
So I can't give him too much credit.
Josh Dillon and Colton. It's like them, and then there's a second bracket of guys, and then everyone else. I would say I'm in the middle, the second bracket and maybe the third bracket, and then Josh Dillon and corners, AB as well. AB's nice too, so I'll put AB out in that first bracket.
Connecting and doing something that's kind of fun off the field too. Guys trash talk a little bit, guys win, guys lose, it's all fun.
Raiders offensive lineman Brandon Parker is a part owner of Valhalla Esports Training Studio in Henderson, where he hosted a Smash tournament this week to help raise money for the United Way. For more on the Raiders bonding through video games, you can check out Adam Hill's story at vegasnation.com. But we're going to check in with Adam right now on his main takeaways from this season.
Another season wraps up for the Raiders on Sunday, and another mediocre season at that. It's the worst place you want to be in the NFL. So I think the first thing you take away from the season is it's very, very difficult to both compete and rebuild. The Raiders have tried to do that the last couple of years. They don't want to take a step back. They want to try to keep pushing forward, but you really can't do that because you end up in no man's land. You don't have a high pick. You're not in the playoffs. It's the worst place to be in the NFL, and the Raiders find themselves there once again. So with a whole lot of question marks going into this offseason, from the coach to the GM to the quarterback and everything else. I think they need to be willing to take that step back and build for the future if they want to build a solid foundation to compete for years to come. I know it's painful. I know it's not what fans like to hear, but it is something I think you take away from this year, because you start at the quarterback position, you sign Jimmy Garoppolo, it doesn't work out. He basically gets a coach fired in Josh McDaniels. Then you go to Aiden O'Connell, and it's just not there consistently. You see some big numbers in garbage time in a couple of games, but the lack of mobility combined with not elite ball placement and accuracy, which is what you want to see if somebody can't really move around in the pocket, combines to probably not make him the quarterback of the future. So you have to decide what you're going to do at that most important position, take a step backward, start to rebuild. But there are some positive signs. You look around, there's guys that are developing. Zamir White has emerged. He's probably going to take over for Josh Jacobs, who's probably not going to be here next year. And there's some other guys that are showing a lot of promise, especially on the defensive side of the ball. That's what the Raiders can really hang their hat on, and then get everything else up to par to be able to build that foundation to compete for the long term.
Grand opening, grand closing. That'll do it for the first episode of Vegas Nation Blitz in 2024. But the last episode for this Raiders season. Thank you all so much for rocking with us since the season kicked off. And for continued fast takes and smart coverage, head on over to VegasNation.com as the crew gets you ready for one more game. For the Vegas Nation team, I'm Leandre Fox. Thank you so much for watching. We've got one more show, so be sure to join us for Vegas Nation Game Day this Saturday, 7 a.m. We'll see you then.
Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal, this is Vegas Nation Blitz. Presented by DNR House of Diamonds, making luxury affordable. Located in the One Summerlin building in downtown Summerlin.